Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Choate from Mount Royal University in Calgary, Canada. I'm a professor of social work, and I want to talk today about 9 things or 9 promises I think we make to children who come into care. At any given moment, pretty much everywhere in the child protection world, social workers are bringing children into the care of the Child Protection Agency. This means the child is going to be placed in alternative care, which can range anywhere from a foster home, kinship care, group care, or even institutional care. We take children out of family homes because we essentially conclude, we being the state through the voice of the social worker, that the present situation in the family home is insufficient for the safety and care of the child. One of the things we don't talk enough about, however, is that when we take a child out of a family home, we also enter into a bargain with that child. Here's what the bargain essentially is. We'll provide you with a place that is better than the home that we've just taken you out of. That's essentially the deal that we make with the kid. The problem is a lot of the time we don't live up to the deal. The alternate care just really isn't all that much better, and unfortunately at times it's worse. But I want to say that I think there's at least 9 issues that belong inside that deal. And frankly, there's probably more, but I think there's 9 that are quite essential. The first one is that the alternate place is going to be safer. So if we've taken you out of a place that's unsafe, we're going to provide you with a place that's safer. Institutional care, for example, is not always safer. Some foster arrangements have not been found to be safer. Although I really want to emphasize my belief that the vast majority of foster carers do an amazing job in trying to look after the children who are brought into their homes. But there are occasions when, frankly, the alternative care isn't safer. Take, for example, if we take a 12 or 13-year-old child and place that child in an emergency shelter along with lots of other kids who are there for a whole variety of reasons, some of whom may be from the streets. Have we really provided a safer place? Well, I think that's part of the deal. I also think an essential part of the deal is that we're going to provide you with some stability. That means that you're going to go into a place and you're going to stay there. The place is going to be safe, but it is a place that you're going to be able to stay. That's a deal a lot of the time we don't live up to. Foster children move from place to place to place and have several placements. And perhaps it is true to say that some of the most frequent placement disruptions occur with children who are the most traumatized and, frankly, most in need of that stability. I think the other thing that we sort of imply is that we're also going to find you a place where you'll be loved and respected. Well, it's really hard for a child to feel that they're going into a place that they can feel loved in when they may be there for a few weeks, a few months, and then moved on. It's hard to develop that kind of relationship. And as a result, many children who move from place to place in the alternative care system of child protection learn not to invest in a relationship with the people that they're living with because they're just going to be moving anyways. Another part of the deal, we're going to give you an education. Well, education, good education, valuable education, requires that we also provide stability so that a child can go into a particular school, develop relationships with that school and with the other kids in the school. I recall one foster kid saying to me that she didn't bother developing relationships with kids in the schools because she wasn't going to be there long enough for those relationships to really matter. That's a statement about the instability. And as a result, the next thing that we try to say that will provide you is some ability to develop roots. Roots in the community, so we'll allow you to be in extracurricular activities, develop some roots and some friends in the community. Roots in the school, we'll be able to develop relationships with teachers and kids in the school. Roots in a family system or a family type environment. That's kind of part of the deal. We also say that we're going to support you. Now, support can mean we're going to provide you with the kind of long-term mental health supports that will help you deal with pre-apprehension traumas. We'll provide you with supports necessary for you to make up for deficiencies that may have occurred prior to coming into care. But we're also going to provide you with supports that will allow you to move into adulthood. In today's world, I think that really matters a great deal, because if we look around at many young people today, they are not making the transition into adulthood as early as, say, in my generation. As a result, it's not uncommon for a 25-year-old to still be at home. It's equally not uncommon for a young person who has left home for a period of time to have to come back home as they transition to another part of trying to make it in the adult world. It's harder today to become established. The cost of housing is greater, unemployment is more challenging, and there are simply more difficulties in establishing careers. We've certainly seen that, for example, in unpaid internships. Well, that means that for a foster child, or a child who's grown up in care or spent a significant amount of time in care, that they're going to have some alternate place to go to. Simply because you've aged out of the system doesn't now mean that you're ready to be an independent adult. Are we providing those kinds of supports? A child who's grown up in a foster home, well, you'd like to think that they'd be able to come back to that foster home as their home, because that's the family they grew up in. Can that happen? I think it's part of the deal. Another part of the deal is that we're going to give you a voice. We're going to allow you to agree or disagree with the decisions that are being made about you, and to be able to talk about those, to have mechanisms by which your voice, your concerns, your needs are going to be heard. And that brings us to the ninth issue. You're going to have a relationship with a social worker who is going to be around. Now, be around means more than a few months, and heaven knows in many child protection systems there is a substantial amount of turnover, and that's a problem for a child who doesn't have a family that they are used to. They need somebody who's in a decision-making role, who's going to be able to make decisions, and that's a relationship with a social worker. And that relationship is one where they're going to have to be seen on a regular basis. It's hard for me to come and talk to you about your significant concerns if I don't see you often enough for you to trust me and believe in me. So in other words, it's a relationship base that allows the child to know that there's somebody in a decision-making position who's going to be able to make decisions. These are all part of the bargain, or part of the deal, I think, that we make when we bring a child into foster care. I suspect there's many more. One that comes to mind, for example, is if a family that you live in is going on vacation, are you going to be able to go with them? What if that family wants to leave the country, say travel from Canada down to Disneyland? Are you going to be able to do that, or will bureaucratic paperwork get in the way of being able to go on that journey, making you the second-class citizen in the home? I use that example because I've seen variations of that example in my work on many occasions over the years. So in other words, you're part of the family, but maybe only most of the time, not all of the time. These are some of the challenges that you face. Again, I want to emphasize that I think foster parents, for the most part, do an amazing job and work really hard at trying to provide a safe, nurturing, and caring environment. But until we provide the stability and the supports for a child in care over the long term, then that child may not have the deal that we've suggested that they're entitled to. I'd be interested in your thoughts.